Hello again. I used to be a great fan of Richard Dawkins and his books on biology, but somewhere down the line he began to be a bit obsessed with religion and decided he would rather talk about God than he would genes, which is the subject about which he actually knows a great deal. Not only is he unable to keep off the subject of God, which is often a warning sign that one is in the presence of a crackpot, he also tries to write about things which he doesn't understand, such as aeronautics. This leads to difficulties and I'm afraid lays him open to a certain amount of ridicule. I said the other day that I was only of average intelligence, but this is not always such a bad thing. Richard Dawkins is far more clever than I am, but he suffers from a peculiar blind spot, which is that he does not realise which parts of the field of human knowledge he's not strong in. Now, I've got a pretty good grasp of my own, all too many limitations, and I act accordingly. So I avoid talking about it. It'd be a bit mad if I made a video and started pretending to know about football or golf or, I don't know, nuclear physics, say, or all sorts of other things. Anyway, I've been looking through Dawkins' latest book, which is Flights of Fancy, and this perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. It's written for young adults, and the style is marvellously chatty and informal. Dawkins can write a damn sight better than I can, and I'll readily concede that. In this book, and I quote from the blurb on the back, Richard Dawkins explains how nature and humans have learnt to overcome the pull of gravity, from the Wright Flyer and the 747, and he talks all about powered flight here, which is interesting. Well, all that sounds reasonable enough. We are to be told about flight and how it works, both in nature and also the flying machines devised by humans. Only in the book, though, we see an immediate problem. Um, Here we've got on page 75, I hope people can see this, we've got a picture of an angel. Now, what has that got to do with flight, either in nature or powered flight, you ask yourself? Well, thing is, Dawkins explains that the wings which angels are shown within medieval paintings would not be big enough to lift them off the ground. And then he talks about the Archangel Gabriel in particular. This is, of course, his standard swipe at religion. The only thing is, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything. There's no mention in the Bible of angels having wings at all. Nothing to do with Christianity, Judaism, or anything. I've never met anybody of any religion who thinks that angels have physical wings like this, like birds' wings at the back that can lift them up. The seraphim and cherubim, of course, mentioned in some passages of scripture, are not angels, they're creatures more like sphinxes. Then Dawkins goes on about El Burak, it's Muhammad's horse, who flew him to heaven from the rock in Jerusalem. And Dawkins assures us that it wouldn't be possible to have a horse with wings either. So far, so good. Like all cranks, he can't keep off his chosen hobby horse. It's when he starts trying to explain powered flight that the problems really emerge. Here's how Richard Dawkins thinks that helicopters work. And I'm going to quote from page 123. Modern helicopters have powerful engines burning copious quantities of fossil fuel to drive their great thudding rotors. The angled blades drive a strong wind downwards, directly pushing the helicopter upwards. Now, this is the sort of explanation for a helicopter's mode of operation which one might expect a child to come up with. The idea that it's blowing down a big column of air that's pushing the helicopter upward. It is, of course, absolute nonsense. In fact, the rotors are really wings with curved surfaces at the top and they're flat underneath. They work just like an aeroplane's wings to create lift. Because air flowing over the top travels further due to the curve, it exerts less pressure than the air below the rotor. This is, of course, Bernoulli's effect. It is this reduced pressure at the top of the wing which provides the force which lifts a helicopter, in just the same way that an aeroplane's wings provide lift to keep it in the air. The idea that the helicopter is being driven aloft by a column of air forced downward by the rotors is absolutely absurd. This then is the difficulty I find with Richard Dawkins. His writing about genes is masterful, and I find his style very engaging indeed. But once he starts on religion and other kinds of science that aren't genes and biology, he soon has a way of going wrong. Here's a book which offers to explain powered flight to young people and is written by a man who honestly doesn't understand how a helicopter works. This is a little bit alarming. As I say, I'm sure that Dawkins is far more clever than me, but cleverness is not enough. One needs to have accurate knowledge as well, and without it, one will quickly take a wrong turn.